Hello and welcome to the Goalink Show. My name is Ben Harris, founder of Goalink, a goal-setting community sharing weekly challenges. These challenges are inspired by brands to bring you new ways to develop and improve yourself. You can kick back and watch me take on these exciting and uncomfortable challenges, or you can join me. I challenge every listener to complete these weekly goals. Catch the content every Sunday on Instagram or Facebook at Goalink Group. The Goalink Show, this podcast recounts experiences from the achievers of the world, but not just the success. We delve into the challenges and struggle we all face. How do we find the will to push through? What role do motivation, discipline, failure, and goals play in our lives? We discuss this and much more in the show. Thanks for tuning in. This week, I have my friend Matt on the show. He's a really driven dude who's gone through some life changes this year. I appreciate him being really open in this episode. We talk about some sensitive topics like depression and how he's gotten out of that. And so keep tuning in to hear some topics that I think other people can be afraid to talk about, but I think is really useful to be honest and open about it, because whether it's not depression, it's feelings of depression, and we can all help each other to get through it. So Matt is a driven dude. His morning routine has helped him feel so much happier and productive in his day. He has a family, a side hustle, takes multiple credit hours. So keep tuning in to hear from Matt. All right, everyone, welcome to the Goalink Show. Stoked to have you and our man Matt here. How we doing, dude?
What's up, guys? I'm doing good. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, so I've known Matt for a little bit. We've actually worked together in leadership at the current company that we work at. And our relationship has grown, and we've had many conversations, and we've joked about how one day if someone just popped in and listened to our conversations, that their mind would be blown, and we could change the world. And so that's why I'm excited to have him here, is so you guys can get a sneak peek of the conversation that we have, and hopefully you can get some value and glean something from that. More than that, just the conversations of, you know, what we've been doing to try to improve our productivity and just never be complacent, etc. I guess you've improved a lot in just little things. I wouldn't say something major, but just little things in the past year, and I think that's what matters.
Yep.
So that's the intro. Matt, welcome.
Thanks.
So tell us, about a year ago, what did your daily routine or just your mindset look like?
Yeah, for sure. So I think that you could probably consider it as like the average routine of like 99% of the population. I would go to work. I'd go to work at my 9 to 5. I would come home, turn Netflix on, eat some food, and from 5 to midnight, just Netflix and chill with my family. And then would
you just straight watch Netflix that long?
We would be doing other things but it was like on in the background, right? So we would like cook dinner and talk and all of that kind of stuff. But outside of my normal job, there wasn't a whole lot going on other than just kind of hanging out with my family, which I love. But that was kind of the routine. It was Monday to Saturday, just work and then watching TV and hanging out, and work and watching TV and hanging out. Okay, cool. So I agree that most people, I would love to find out the actual math, but we'll say 99% for now. The statistics. So tell us what happened earlier this year, that before we say what you changed, what inspired the upcoming change? Yeah, that's a good question. So there's a lot of things. So like my whole life I've been really interested in sports and going to the gym, and I'm very like entrepreneurial minded. And so I've always kind of had that in me. And my wife and I would talk all the time about, hey, like we want to accomplish these things in our life. And to be honest, the catalyst I think was the fact that I kind of realized that I wasn't really doing anything with my life. And if I continued on like the same path with the same pattern, that nothing was ever going to get accomplished. That I would just live my entire life in this kind of like random like life happening to me instead of me controlling like the events of my life. And didn't want to be 70 years old and look back and go, man, like I wish I would have taken a chance on this, or I wish I would have tried this. And so I think for some reason I just had like this realization that, again, like when I'm 70, I'm gonna look back and like be really like regretful about the way that I used my time.
Thanks, Matt. So if you're okay with this, I know this is a bit personal, but what was the final thing? You know, you talk about just sitting around, you know, on your couch not doing much, but I know there's a bit of a deeper and darker space if you're comfortable talking about it.
Yeah, for sure. So this is something that I think is really important, and it actually was something that was very surprising to me. So kind of the final straw where 7-8 months ago I went, I need to make a change in my life. Something has to change. Was I was really depressed, which was kind of fascinating to me. I don't have like any like family history of like depression, and so I'm not saying that I'm clinically depressed, because I think that's a whole different scenario. Like if you're clinically depressed, like seek medical attention.
Yeah, you're just
right?
having like depressing thoughts.
Yeah, but I think we all have like depressive times in our life.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like a day, we all have like a bad day, and we're like, man, life isn't working out how I want it to. For me, it was like a week, maybe a little bit more than a week, where I would come home from work and sit down on the couch and watch TV, and nothing seemed to matter anymore. So I think it was like a depressive type episode. And I would just sit and nothing would matter, and I wouldn't want to help with anything, but it was different from me just being lazy, right? Like this was something where I could tell that I was not in a good place and I was not happy. And to be absolutely transparent, because I think this is really important, this is something that I like have really strong feelings about, I started to have like marginal like suicidal thoughts. It was never to the point where I was like, I'm doing this, like this is it. But it was to the point where I would say, man, if I'm not accomplishing anything, why am I here?
Yeah, that's crazy.
And where I would question, is it better at, like, I'm not happy and I can't seem to get out of this cycle. Is there any point to me even being here anymore?
Yeah, that's pretty deep. But there's a lot of people that go through that, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. And that's why I want to make like the specification that I don't think that I'm clinically depressed, right? And because I think that's important, is we need to make sure that we know like where we're coming from. But I do think it's possible for everyone to have these depressive episodes. And so that's why I'm such a huge proponent. I think that I kind of hit rock bottom there and kind of snapped out of it a little bit long enough to say, I need to make a change in my life. Like, that's not a good place to be. I've got a wife, I have a little baby, like I need to be here to take care of them. This is not a good place to be. And so I think that's initially what kind of gave me this push and this motivation. I snapped out of it long enough, like I said, to realize that a change needed to happen. And it, kind of just went from there as I started doing this research on, man, how can I be more productive? How can I wake up earlier? And the most surprising thing for me is when I started to exercise, the biggest change was not physical. It was emotional and mental. I had never felt better emotionally. And there's science behind that, right?
Yeah,
when you exercise, like, it releases endorphins, and we can go on and on about that. But so there's science to back that. But really, I'm such a huge advocate for exercise, daily exercise, whatever that looks like.
Doesn't have to be, you don't have to be pushing 2 plates.
No. Yeah. It doesn't. It doesn't have to be in the gym.
I'm lifting 5 plates. Just so
I was going to say,
knows.
for me, it's like 10 on each side. But yeah, it doesn't have to be being in the gym lifting weights. Like a lot of motivational videos are just people in the gym throwing weight around.
Yeah.
But get out and walk and like appreciate nature, or get out and run or bike or swim or whatever it is that you hike, whatever it is that you want to do, but exercise, move your body.
Yeah, move.
Because the biggest change for me was the emotional change that I saw. And I think because of that, because daily I'm waking up early, and that's the first thing that I do is I go exercise. I'm in the gym. It's just a great way to start my day, and I have not had any other like depressive episodes. Like, I'm happier than I've ever been before, and I would attribute it primarily to being in the gym and exercising.
I love it. Thank you for being so honest and sharing that. It's really meaningful.
Of course.
All right, so what was the first thing that you did at the beginning of this year?
Yeah, so the first thing that I started doing is I started to wake up at 5 o'clock. So, and that was like the ticket for me. So what I did is I started I've always like watched motivational videos, right? I've always, you need a pep talk and you look up on YouTube motivation, and I started doing a little bit more because all that I was ever watching was just these people that are like screaming from like a soapbox saying, you just got to do it. If one day you want to make a change in your life, you just got to do it. And it's like, great, but I need some like real world application. Like give me steps that you would take. So I found this guy, Robin Sharma, shout out. And he talked about like this 5 a.m. club and people that he's researched that are successful, they all wake up at 5 a.m. or before. And which really intrigued me. And so I started looking into these people, and they said the number one thing that changed my life was I started waking up at 5 a.m. So that was really like where everything started. Was I said, okay, I'm going to figure out a way to wake up at 5 a.m. every morning.
Okay, cool. Was it just 5 a.m.? Like, did you have a plan of like what you're going to do?
Yeah, that's a good question. So yeah, Robin Sharma talks about 20-20-20. And what he means by that is he wakes up at 5, and then for 20 minutes he, and actually now that I'm thinking about it, I think that he exercises for 20 minutes, just like light, whatever, goes for a jog, just gets out to get the blood flowing, comes back for 20 minutes and he meditates. And just kind of like visualizes what he wants to do in the day, what he wants his day to look like, what he wants to accomplish. And then for 20 minutes, he'll like journal, right? Or he'll write down goals and really kind of conceptualize the whole day. And so that was kind of where I started. And so like for the first week, I would do this 20-20-20 scenario. The issue that I ran into with it though, is that I would do that in the morning and then I would still go work out at night. So one thing that I found out really quickly is that if I'm going to continue and be consistent in this process of waking up early in the morning, I had to be able to go to bed early. And so that was like the biggest thing for me, is I had to figure out how to adjust that a little bit. So what I did is I lift weights, I go to the gym in the morning, and then I do my 20-20-20 or something like it for the last hour of my evening.
That's cool. So we've talked about before about how you don't have to agree with something or someone of what they say. Like, this is the one thing you need to change your life. And what Robin Sharma says is the 5 a.m. thing, which you still wake up at 4:30 a.m. Good for you, sir.
Yeah, thanks.
And but you have altered it. You made it work for your life instead of like. So for anyone out there, you don't just have to say what I'm saying, or what Matt's saying, or what anyone else is saying, and you don't have to do exactly what they say. You can modify it that whatever works for you.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's super important, right? I think that people say you need to do this in your life and it has to be this way, and you try to cram that into your own personal circumstances, and it doesn't work. Everyone's circumstances are different, so you need to kind of tailor that to what works for you. Yeah.
So how do you make time for your family?
Yeah, so I think that it happens organically, really. One of the biggest things that I found out was that as we start planning our day and our week in like half-hour increments, that we realize that we really have more time than we think that we do. And that's something that my wife and I do on a consistent basis. So like at the beginning of every week, we'll say, okay, let's get together. What do our weeks look like individually?
So that's awesome. So you guys actually do that like on Sunday or Monday or
Sunday? Yeah.
So Sunday you guys sit down.
Yep.
And schedule out your week.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really, really helpful. I think that you don't realize how much time you have. So when I say that it happens organically, it really does. I find out that when I leave work, I can go and spend time with my family and then pick it back up. When my daughter goes to sleep. My daughter goes to sleep at 7. And so from 7 to 9, we can kind of control like that last part of our evening and get things done that we need to.
That's cool. So from 7, and that's early. And I know, don't you read or you do some productive thing during that time, which is a stark contrast from where you were in January or a year ago or even before that of watching Netflix and just not being productive.
Correct. Yeah. So it's really important for me to control the first hour and the last hour of my day. And so the way that I do that, I control that first hour of the day by controlling the last hour of my day. Like I said, I try to go to bed between 9 and 10 every night. If I'm going to wake up at 4 or 5, that has to happen. I need to be getting 6-7 hours of sleep. And so the way that I do that is I control the last 2 hours of my evening by putting away all electronics. Because what you find is you start scrolling, or you start watching Netflix, or you get on social media, and you just kind of get lost.
Well, and it's proven that it affects your sleep.
Yeah, I mean, there's there's no real like controversy over this, right? Like the statistics are out that it really does affect your sleep. And so my wife and I will turn off the TV at 7. We put iPads or iPhones away. We plug them in and move on and go and grab a paper book and read.
Yeah, paper book.
Yeah. I have to specify. Yeah, we grab paper books and we read or I'll work on my business for a little while and then I'll read but that last hour is like kind of like sacred time to me because it's what allows me to function properly starting at 4:30
and to level up too.
Yeah.
So you and your wife do that together? I assume do you have together time and then like individual time?
Yeah. So and it's kind of, we don't really structure it. We don't plan how it's going to happen. Yeah. But sometimes we'll read books together. Sometimes we're kind of studying on our own. Whatever that looks like for us, we just kind of make sure that all electronics are off and you realize really quickly that if all electronics are off, you can kind of say, okay, do you want to read together? Like, what should we be reading? Are there things that we need to get done? Sometimes we clean the house, and but it's using that time wisely and productively.
Which I love that, just because that's been a change in my life this year too. I used to watch Netflix. So yeah, a year ago, before I finished school, I go to work in the morning, get done, go to school at 6, from 6 to 9 almost every single weekday, and then come home and fall asleep to Netflix. Yeah. And I think a week or two ago, I was really tired and I came home trying to watch Netflix, and it didn't work out. Yeah. Like, as far as like, I was thinking, this isn't fun. It wasn't as like relieving as I thought it would be. Yeah. It's funny that you just get used to it. Yeah. Because from 7 to 9, again, a stark contrast, and I know that was uncomfortable at first, but you found things to just level up. Yeah. Which is cool.
And that's super important. So you bring up a good point. I think that everybody should try like abstaining from social media for like a week. Yes. If they're like, I don't know if I can do that, or just get it out of your life for a week. Yeah. And you'll realize how much of like an influence and time waster it is. But you also realize like in that same amount of time that you don't miss it. And just to give you my experience with that, what I found and what my wife found, she did it with me, is we said, okay, for a week, we're not going to look at social media at all. And what we found is, she said, man, I would be sitting, and before I knew it, Instagram was open on my phone, and I didn't even know how. And so she had to move her app onto like the second page of her phone because she would subconsciously just like unlock her phone and then click on the Instagram app and just start going. And so she moved the icon, and she started opening up like her mobile banking app, and it was pretty funny. She would say, "Why did I open up my mobile banking?" Oh, it's because Instagram used to be here. That's funny. And so what you find is that it really is like an addiction that you don't even realize is there. Your body is just like muscle memory opening that up.
That really is like sickening to me.
It is. It is a little sickening. And so you realize, 1, that it's kind of an addiction. 2, it's unnecessary. And 3, you really don't miss it. After a week, I was like, I didn't miss out on anything.
So that's funny, because that was the first. So earlier this year, my first goal was to read a book every single month. Done that or more. And then the second one was to only look at social media every Sunday. Yeah. And that's why I only post these podcasts and weekly challenges once a week. Yeah. It's for the same thing, just so I don't look at it, and I want to encourage everyone else. And I know that's against the grain, because it's, especially in marketing, post a ton of crap, so something sticks. There needs to be a ton of content out there. Yeah. So we'll see how it goes with only posting once a week, but I want people to tune in like it's something you look forward to, of entertainment and educational, inspiring value. Yeah. I guess if I become a habit, that's a good thing. So, okay, cool. So even though you've mentioned you're the most productive and happiest you've ever been, which I love hearing, that's awesome, what do you still struggle with? Whoever you are, you still struggle. So what are your challenges that you deal with?
Yeah, so there's a couple, I think, that are just kind of ongoing, and I've kind of resigned myself that there will always be struggles.
Yeah.
Right? And that's kind of the fun of it for me now is how do I overcome this
I
struggle?
like that you look at it like fun. That's
yeah,
cool.
it's a new challenge, honestly. It doesn't mean that I love it, but it's more like when I look at it that way, it's more enjoyable and it's easier to deal with. And so one of those things is waking up still. Like waking up, that alarm goes off and I don't like just pop out of bed.
Well, it's at 4:30, bro. It's early.
Yeah, it is early. And so I don't, that alarm, and just so you know, since all of our phones we don't have any phones in our room, so not only do we like get rid of them for the evening, but they're out in the kitchen. So we don't have a TV in our room, we don't have phones in our room, we don't have anything in our room. So I actually bought like a digital alarm clock that plugs into our master bathroom.
So something like that video we watched with Simon Sinek, how he actually said to get an alarm clock.
Yeah, he's like, go buy an alarm clock. And I was like, fantastic, I will. So I got one for like $5 on Amazon.
That's funny.
And it's great. And it's actually like in our master bathroom. And so I don't even see the time at all, like when I'm in bed. But that thing goes off and it is the worst noise in the entire world.
You have to get up though.
Yeah, but I have to get out of bed and turn it off. And so in that amount of time, I've made the decision. By the time I get out of bed and go turn that off, the decision has already been made for me. I think a lot of times if we leave it up to our own willpower, especially in the beginning, we just find that it's not there. It's not, it's cold outside, it's dark outside.
Especially now. Yeah. In October, it's dark and cold.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you don't see the time because you don't have your phone or electronics in there. So I do the same thing and I don't see the time. Just personal question. Do you ever wake up early and you kind of feel anxious because you don't know the time of like how much time you have more to sleep or get up or anything?
No, as long as I know that I like set the alarm, it doesn't bother me.
I guess I should have that mindset because sometimes I'm like, oh man, like if it's 4:59, then I should just get up instead of waiting for it. Okay. So
I get that.
So that's one thing I'm still working on, but I guess I'm just getting excited to get up at 5 a.m.
Yeah, I wish I had that enthusiasm.
Okay, cool. All right. So Matt, earlier I told you about the Scroll My Soul segment.
Yes.
And you were questioning its context.
Yes.
But just so everyone knows what that is every day or every other day, what I learn or what I get inspired by, I write it in my phone. And they're little tidbits or just things that I like. So that's what we'll do in this segment. And we're going to scroll through my phone and pick just a little excerpt from it. And today it is... So, Matt, I'm going to ask you this question and we'll talk about it.
Okay.
And I really want you to... I'm asking you this question. Like, I almost want you to argue kind of how they say, like, in politics or whatever, you should look at the opposing view.
Like a debate. Yeah.
Like a debate.
Yeah.
Just because it's interesting to consider this question. Why should we be more than average? Why shouldn't someone just be happy with okay? Like, what's the argument of being average? And then, of course, argue for why you should really push yourself to be better than average.
Yeah. So I think the argument for being average is it's my life. I can do whatever I want. You do you, as the kids say these days, right? And I think that's kind of like a dangerous thing, right? To say, I'm just going to like live my life the way, that I want to. And if that means being average, like if I just want to chill all day long, then I can, which is true. Like you can, like
in America at least.
Yeah. It is your life. You can live it the way that you want to live it. As far as the opposing argument for being productive and saying I want to be more than average, I think there's a couple things that play into it. And in my mind, my argument to that would be, one, do it for yourself. You deserve more than being average, and you're capable of more than average.
Ooh, I love that.
And what I mean by that is we go through our whole lives and sometimes we don't even realize how much better our lives can be until we take the next step, or until we take the leap of faith, until we follow a dream or start a business that we've been wanting to start, and just kind of coming to this realization that there are things that I want to do with my life and it's within my power to do them. I have the ability to accomplish these things and make of my life what I want it to be. And the second argument I think would be you owe it to other people.
Yeah.
And I think in our society today, it's really easy to just always look inward and just say, this is about me, what I do doesn't affect anybody, and that, like, nothing could be further from the truth. Whether you realize it or not, everything that you do has an effect on other people. I have a mentor. I've had a mentor for 5 or 6 years, and one thing he would always tell me is, "You're always on stage." He said, "Matt, you're always on stage." And at first I was like, what are you even talking about? Like, nobody cares what I do.
We're talking about old man.
Yeah.
If he is, or
yes.
woman.
Yes. Well, he would say, he would say, you're always on stage, Matt. And at first that was like a little confusing. I was like, no one cares what I do. That doesn't make any sense. And as you know, over the last 5 years, I really have realized that we're all on stage. And I know that I'm on stage because other people are on stage in my mind. We notice everything that everybody does. We're always looking at people. We're always like analyzing what they're doing. Sometimes we're criticizing what they're doing. And so those people are on stage. And so I think it's really important to recognize that you have the ability to be an influence for good in the world, and maybe somebody needs, a helping hand, or maybe somebody needs some encouragement, or a little bit of light in their life. And I think that it's incumbent upon us to hold ourselves to a high enough standard that kind of lift people to that same standard because they want to be like us. I think it's incumbent upon us to be good role models for other people, to better the world around us, because we're on stage. And so whether we realize that we have that effect on people, we do, and people are watching all the time.
That's cool. And I feel like you could flip that, which you said we all have a part, whether you didn't mean it that we're all on stage, but we can have a part of a play on stage, or if we want to get that cheesy. But even the world as a whole, and we have a part, and for real, whatever we do affects it. And even if you look at it in a selfish point of view of just taking care of yourself, you will benefit other people by just doing that. Like, you will better society by just bettering yourself. That's cool. So what would you say to someone who says that they don't have a dream? Because I know you're a dreamer. Right? And I am too, but there's a lot of people, and it's okay, that say like, I don't have a dream. So what's your experience with that?
So my wife is not a dreamer. And it is okay, right? It took me a little while to understand it, because I am such a dreamer. It's hilarious. I'll like go off on these tangents and say, man, it would be so awesome to have this house or this piece of property, or to have the ability to do this with my life, or have the time to accomplish this. And I'm always talking about these dreams that I have, these grandiose dreams that I have. And she's just not. A year into our marriage, I said, well, I'm doing all the talking here. I just sit and I just ramble on about all these things, and you're very nice, and you humor me. And I said, tell me about what you want in life. Like, tell me what your dreams are. And she couldn't, and that's okay, right? And I honor that, and I respect that. So some of us aren't dreamers. So the first thing that I would say to people who aren't dreamers, or don't have these grandiose ideas of what they want to do, is to say it's okay. But then then I would tell them, try to dream. And what I mean by that is sit down with like a piece of paper and write down things that you just want to accomplish. Dreams don't have to be, I want to be the president of the United States one day. Dreams can be something as simple as, I want to accomplish X.
I like that. That's cool.
Right? And so that's what I would do, is I would say, it's okay, we're not all dreamers, and we're all different, and that's great. We all bring different things to the table. But I would say try it a little bit and write down, what do you want to accomplish? Like, what do you want your life to be like? And you count those as your dreams.
That's cool. I like that. Just because what we talked about earlier about, we say certain things, and if you disagree with them or it doesn't fit into your mold, then you discard them completely or disregard them completely, instead of like, okay, some of that could apply to me. Right? So saying being a dreamer, doesn't mean you have to be the president of the United States. It could be that you just want to better yourself in X way. So I like that. That's super cool. We are close to concluding. So what last advice or what parting wisdom would you throw our way?
I don't know, it's hard. Based on the first episode, I think there was some great advice given where it was said, chip away, chip away little by little. It's the small things, and it really is, right? Ultimately, waking up at 5:00 is not that big of a deal, but over the past 7 months, it's made all the difference in my life.
That's a good point.
And so the first week, I could have been waking up at 5 and gone, man, I'm just exhausted. Like, this is crazy. What am I doing? So when you look at it like on a, at the molecular level, you kind of go, this is nothing. Like, what am I doing to myself? But when you kind of take a step back, kind of like a tapestry, right? So you look at like kind of the tapestry of what you're doing, and you have to have, you have to be consistent in something to see the bigger picture. But it's those threads that make this tapestry. And sometimes when you're really close up, it just looks blurry and gross and like a bunch of random brown and black strings. But when you take a step back, you kind of see the beauty of what that looks like. And so I've been able over the past 7 or 8 months to see kind of like the fruit or like the beauty of waking up at 5. So I think that's really great advice. Is just the little things. So just start. I think the other piece of advice that I would give is if you fall off the wagon, or I should say when you fall off the wagon, because you're not going to be perfect, right? As you're accomplishing your goals, like you're going to fall short, and that's okay. But don't wait until Monday.
Ooh, that's a good one too.
Like you can like change immediately. So if your goal is to go to the gym every day and you miss a day, you're going tomorrow. Like you go to the gym tomorrow. You don't say, oh, well, I kind of messed up my routine, so I'll wait till Monday and then I'll start over. It's the same thing with like eating, right? You cave and you want to eat really, really healthy if that's your goal, and you say and you cave and you have a donut or some ice cream, and then you feel really bad and you go, man, dang it, I wish I wouldn't have done that. That's okay. Like recognize that you don't want to do that in the future, and
eat spinach in the next hour.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. And that's what it is and you don't even wait until tomorrow in that case.
Yeah,
you say,
I like that.
For dinner, I will eat a healthy meal, right? And you don't wait till Monday to start it all over again. So I think that would be, and that was kind of the cycle that I was in, is I would say, oh, well, I mess it up. There's no going back. Like, I'll wait till Monday and then I'll start with a fresh slate. But man, that Wednesday, you fall off by Wednesday really, really consistently. And then there's a lot of Mondays. So really, you're only doing 2 or 3 days of consistent, like accomplishing or achieving in a week.
I love that. All right, sir. Well, thank you so much. I love hearing that this is the most productive and happiest you've ever been. Yeah. However, I know there's still challenges like you mentioned. Like it's not easy getting up at 4:30. That is for sure not easy. And thanks for being so honest and open. Yeah. That was really cool. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
And I know there's some people that can really connect with that. So, sir, thank you very much.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. This week's challenge is inspired by Peejamas. It's a more affordable and convenient way to potty train your kids. So if you have any kids, make sure you check it out. It's a cool idea to be environmentally friendly, and you save a lot of money do it, and it helps your kids, gain confidence. And this really inspired me this week because I remember how I didn't used to care what people thought or said when I was a kid. I really didn't care. And I want to get back to that. So this week's challenge is to do one thing that makes you feel uncomfortable. Just one thing. And here are some ideas. You could sing to a stranger for 15 seconds. You could ask for a discount at a restaurant for no reason. You can do 5 cartwheels in a mall. And you need to record it, post it, and use hashtag Goalink Challenge. And I really want to hear from you guys. So post it, send me a DM. There are a few ways you can report back once you complete the challenge. You can post it on Facebook or Instagram using hashtag Goalink Challenge. You can comment on this episode-specific post on Facebook or Instagram. You can send me a private message, or you can use the Goalink Hotline. To use the hotline, call 385-626-0525 and follow the instructions. And I have a feeling that you guys are not going to want to miss what I do for this week's challenge. It's going to be pretty funny. So tune in on Instagram or Facebook at Goalink Group to see what I do. And thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great week.